On July 13th, 2024, a video quietly appeared on Dr. Hannah Straight's YouTube channel, capturing an unsettling moment deep in the Sierra Nevada. It wasn't presented as evidence, just footage, recorded late at night in a place far removed from help, traffic, or artificial light. At the time, no one watching could have known how brief and how disturbing the moment would be.
Did you see that? I've been hanging out with my friends that live and travel in an RV. We left a little bit later than usual and it got dark really fast. On the way home, something bolted out in front of the truck. I basically just left the scene immediately because it was really dark out. Could it possibly be a Bigfoot? Is it tall enough? Check out that stride. Like, what?
The night vision footage shows a dark, upright shape crossing the road ahead. It moves with long, deliberate strides. No hesitation. No visible reaction to the camera, and no sound. Within seconds, it slips into the trees and disappears completely. The encounter unfolds too fast to process. With visibility limited and isolation pressing in on all sides, the group makes a quick decision. They leave immediately. Out here, uncertainty isn't just uncomfortable. It has consequences. Later, Hannah explains that she plans to return during daylight to study the footage more carefully, when the forest can be seen for what it is.
This trail is only about 2.7 miles long, but travels nearly straight up the mountain to an elevation of around 8,000 feet. Once an old service road, this is now a pretty challenging OHV trail. Rated as a 6 for large rock obstacles, slick tree roots, and multiple areas for potential rollover, 33s are a minimum here. Much of the year, this trail is impassable due to the enormous amount of snow it receives.
So we might have come to a dead end because, as you can see, there's still some snow up here. This is the problem. There's still a huge amount of snow, which is pretty slick. So we're going over.
Onwards and upwards. We're not at the top yet, but it sure felt like it.
It's really cool when you're up in a viewpoint like this. It just feels extra special because who else gets up here very often?
This narrow trail leads to an old Central Pacific Railroad fire lookout. It was built around 1909. The Central Pacific built nearly 40 miles of snow sheds along the mountains to ensure they could watch and keep train travel moving safely.
We made it to the top of the mountain. I found this really cool old abandoned stone lookout. We've got a huge living area right at the front of the home. Got a lookout right here. No longer in use, but still really cool.
Earlier that same day, the road had led them along a level 6 off-road route to an abandoned stone lookout built in 1909. In daylight, the location felt ordinary, quiet, familiar, nothing out of place. But after nightfall, that sense of normalcy no longer holds. Some viewers point to the stride, convinced it was human. Others focus on how quickly it moved through complete darkness. If nothing felt wrong there during the day, what changed after sunset? And more importantly, would anyone really stop long enough to find out? Justin Hancock runs an off-grid adventure channel focused on solo overlanding, remote camping, and real wilderness encounters, usually with his dog Hudson close by. Nothing staged, nothing exaggerated. On January 12, 2026, in the Idaho Panhandle, recent flooding along a nearby river forces him to abandon his original campsite and climb roughly 1,500 feet higher into the mountains. The new spot is quieter, more isolated. The plan is uncomplicated. Cook a steak? Make s'mores? Get to sleep early. But the campsite sits on a forested slope, thick with trees, dropping sharply downhill into darkness. An area known for cougars and bears.
Hey, bear! Hey, bear! Hey, bear! Hey.
Definitely a little spooked right now. There's something very big down this hill right here. Keep hearing it as it moves through the trees, but I have not seen anything yet. It's most likely just an elk or a moose, but still, that is the last thing you want to hear.
Not long after nightfall, Justin hears movement below the camp. Heavy movement down the slope, through the trees. He checks his thermal view and immediately picks up heat, confirming whatever's moving is warm-blooded and large. It never steps into view, but it's close enough to hear branches shift and brush snap. Justin keeps his voice steady, suggesting it could be an elk, maybe a moose. Still, he doesn't look away from the tree line. He stays focused on the sound, tracking it as it moves slowly through the darkness.
Oh boy. Haven't heard it for a couple minutes now. I might get my Bluetooth speaker out and start playing some music just so it knows we're here. Because we haven't been doing that. We've been actually pretty quiet tonight.
As the noise continues, Justin openly acknowledges where he is. Bear country, cougar territory, and whatever's out there isn't making small animal sounds. Hudson begins reacting too, ears up, attention fixed on the same spot, confirming this isn't imagination or nerves. That's when Justin stops treating it casually. He puts Hudson inside the truck without hesitation. For several minutes, the movement continues, and then suddenly stops. The silence feels wrong, not calm, not safe. Justin considers playing music through a Bluetooth speaker, noting how unnaturally quiet the forest had been even before the sounds began. Nothing ever shows itself. No eyes, no shape, no confirmation. But hearing something large move through the trees at night, confirmed by his dog, is enough to snap the evening from relaxed to alert in seconds. Out here, plans don't matter, and quiet nights can change without warning. Nick C. is a solo wilderness adventure creator known for winter camping, bushcraft, and survival-style trips deep into remote mountain terrain. He's experienced, comfortable alone, and used to the sounds that come with it. On January 15th, 2026, he heads into a remote winter mountain wilderness, planning a quiet overnight camp in freezing conditions. Nothing extreme, just another night alone in the cold.
All right, guys, welcome back to another adventure. Did a bit of looking around. I know you guys can't see much at the moment, but I'm thinking this spot here. There's some trees over there, which will protect me from the wind a little bit that's coming from that side. It's just pretty open. And what I plan on doing is actually building a fire on both sides of me. Absolutely petrified, because what is that? I kept hearing it though, did some research. Turns out it's from I forget what it's called, frost booms, or I don't know. It's from like thawing and freezing of water within the trees. And then there's other stuff like birds. Some birds make the creepiest sounds in the world. Foxes make scary noise. There's all these things that make the creepiest noises, especially when you're new. When I was new, the amount of times I left a campsite because I heard something terrifying, or what I thought was terrifying, I can't even count. But yeah, in the past year or so, especially making these videos, I've gotten so much better with that. To be honest, there's really not a lot for sounds that'll bother me. I've heard mountain lions, I've heard all sorts of weird stuff, and what I tend to do actually is, as it's getting dark, I'll just sit there and listen to the forest. Because, you know, hearing those sounds in the day, when you hear those, when you're not scared, it gets night and you hear the same thing. Some of them otherwise might have scared you. You're like, oh, that's normal, right? So yeah, I've gotten a lot better with it. But what I just heard, I don't know, guys. It... Holy, did it scare me. So actually what happened is not the last clip where I was showing my gear, but after the one before that, after I'd shown you guys with a spot, I heard this sound, and I'm not even kidding. It was like, or
Nick sets up a minimalist camp, laying out only the essentials: a knife, a lighter, cotton balls for fire, a folding saw, a headlamp. As he gathers firewood, the forest sounds feel familiar. Trees cracking in the cold, distant birds, a fox somewhere far off. Then, without warning, a sound comes from the nearby trees. It's close, sharp, and immediately wrong. Unsure what made it, Nick retreats briefly to his car to reassess, giving the forest time to settle.
Like, literally just in the trees, not even that far from me, and I'm like, I'm done. I am done. I grabbed my stuff and I literally sprinted to the car. Like, the hair, when people say the hair on the back of your neck stands up, I've never actually felt that before. I literally felt every hair on the back of my neck just, oh.
When he returns near the campsite, the sound happens again, this time from the tree line. Louder, clearer, and not like anything he recognizes. Despite years spent alone in places like this, the noise triggers concern. It doesn't match the rhythm of wildlife he knows, and it doesn't move away.
I am out of here. What the heck is that? Yeah, no idea.
After waiting in the car, the sound comes again, closer than before. Nick describes the physical response instantly. Every hair on the back of his neck stands up. That's enough. He grabs his gear and abandons the campsite entirely, sprinting back to the safety of his vehicle. Inside the car, he replays the audio captured on his microphone. The sound is unmistakable and difficult to explain. He suggests it could have been a wild horse, but he can't say for certain. That uncertainty keeps him from returning that night. The encounter highlights an uncomfortable truth about solo winter camping. Experience doesn't make you immune, and sometimes the smartest move is leaving before curiosity turns into regret. Nick leaves the area shaken but unharmed, sharing the audio with viewers and reminding them that in isolated environments, trusting your instincts can matter more than finishing the plan. A solo camper heads into the frozen wilderness for an overnight winter camping test, with temperatures dropping to just 12 degrees. What's meant to be a simple equipment experiment quickly turns into something far more unsettling. His goal is straightforward. Test a terracotta pot heater inside his tent to see if it can survive brutal winter conditions. As darkness settles in and the cold tightens its grip, the forest around him begins to feel different. By 10 p.m., the isolation weighs heavily. He admits the night feels far creepier when you're completely alone, surrounded by nothing but frozen trees and silence. What makes it worse is the location. On a previous trip, he captured an unexplained light deep in these same woods. A light that had no clear source. Tonight, he's back in that exact spot. Inside the tent, he prepares for sleep, layering blankets, setting up an electric blanket his wife uses every winter, and lighting 3 tea candles beneath a terracotta pot connected to a metal chimney. Everything seems ready. Then something shifts, and he realizes something isn't right.
You guys hear that? Sounds like somebody whistling. And that's impossible. I mean, not impossible, but highly improbable. That's a tree squeaking. Sounds like something walking. I will seriously crap my pants if we get some knocks back tonight. Did hear like something moving over there when I did it. That light's not there tonight. On that last live I did out here, right before I left, there was a light right back in there. Man, it's so much creepier when you're by yourself. And like I said, there's so many frickin' sounds out here right now, making it even spookier. Man, there was just something was growling out there. I am armed, but man, that sounded scary. See if it growls again. That was scary. My heart's about to pound out of my chest. That was a crazy sound. I don't hear anything now. It's been a couple minutes. I didn't even hear it walking around at all. It was just a growl. It's sort of like a snort growl. I don't know. Weird to explain. Man, what is going on out there? Do you hear that? It's so cold. It just keeps getting colder. Colder and creepier.
By morning, the winter camping test is over. He survives the night. But the question lingers. What was outside his tent after dark? Henry never gives a clear answer. And maybe that's for the best. Because out there, miles from help, surrounded by frozen wilderness, some questions don't come with answers. And sometimes the most dangerous thing in the cold isn't the temperature. It's whatever waits just beyond the tree line. On January 28th, 2022, van life creators Rachel and Tommy settle into a remote mountain forest far from town, where cell service fades and the night feels heavier than expected. Their channel focuses on off-grid travel, remote camping, and life on the road. And Tommy makes one thing clear from the start. This isn't a paranormal channel. They park for the night expecting isolation, quiet, and rest. But as darkness settles in, the atmosphere feels different, thicker, like the forest is holding its breath.
We've been out here a couple of nights. Been very quiet, very normal feeling. And since everyone's left except us, and I don't know how to explain that, it has felt more, and obviously we're not a paranormal channel. We're not a spooky crap channel. It's just not what we do. We're van life. I don't know what I heard. It almost sounded like I don't want to say a roar, because then people are going to start thinking, well, I'm thinking it's something else. I don't know what it is, but it was almost like best description I have of it is, it sounded like, and don't laugh when I say this, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. I've been wrong before. But I just don't feel like there's going to be any T-Rexes or Velociraptors out here. I would think, maybe it's one of those flat, like a jet boat. There aren't really no mountain lions here. There are bobcats, but I don't know that they do where I heard the sound was back down this way. So we'll walk down here and see what's going on.
Once the other campers leave, the woods don't feel empty anymore. They feel watched. Small things begin to stack up. Sounds that don't follow a pattern. Movement that doesn't announce itself. The kind of noises that don't belong to wind or distant traffic. The forest, which should have gone silent, turns restless instead.
Can y'all hear this? Can you hear this? Yeah, do not know what that, I don't know what that was. So we've been sitting here for about 45 minutes. I don't know, 40 minutes. Rachel, she wanted to know if she could hear something, so we've been sitting here, except the wind is down. Have you heard anything? Maybe so. So when we sat in the van at night and it's chilly, homeboy just says, "No, I'm out." Sits under the heater and just chills. I don't blame him though, because it can get chilly in here.
Their dog, Badger, notices it before they do. He locks onto the darkness outside the van, unmoving, alert. Distant animal calls echo through the trees, sharp and unfamiliar, making sleep impossible. Every sound feels closer than it should be. Out here, rest becomes a luxury instead of a guarantee.
Well, they are getting it, aren't they? Yeah. I hope it's showing up.
They're close.
Yeah. Let me open this.
It's like 2:30 now. Woke up, I felt the van move, heard somebody try to open the door, and started moving around. I heard some steps, and I heard a vehicle take off from up over here. And I got outside, and I could hear the steps, or I could hear the vehicle. I'm sorry, I can't talk because I'm kind of shaking up right now. I could hear the tires rolling on gravel, and they went up this way and then made a left, and I could see tail lights, and they sat there for a minute. You know, I can deal with a lot of stuff. Animals trying to get in the van, you know, but we're out here a long ways away from anybody, and somebody trying to get in the van when it's obviously somebody's camping here. You can see we're camping, and you have somebody just come and brazenly try to get in. I'm gonna wait here just for a minute. I'm standing outside. Gonna be quiet now. Yeah, we're out here.
Then, at 2:30 a.m., everything changes. They're jolted awake by the unmistakable sound of someone testing the van's door handle. The moment they react, the presence disappears into the darkness. Some of the earlier noises could be explained. Terrain, acoustics, animals moving through the forest. But a door handle isn't the wind, and Badger's focus never wavers. The sound points to intent, to someone close enough to touch the vehicle, and it leaves a question that lingers long after the night ends. When a place feels wrong, do you trust your instincts, or stay long enough to find out why? The Muscovite is a travel and lifestyle channel built around real road trips, solo camping, and quiet moments spent far from comfort. No filters, no polish. On October 8th, 2025, roughly halfway to Moscow, the journey pauses in Karelia, a rural, heavily forested region dotted with small bungalows near a lake. The plan is simple. Inspect the tiny house, settle in, sleep. But the structure is immediately unsettling. The doorway is low. The space inside is barely larger than the bed itself. A narrow window looks straight into the forest. The light doesn't work. Spiders cling to the walls and ceiling, and the furniture looks worn down and neglected. To make the place usable at all, towels and rags are stuffed into visible holes along the walls. As the camper checks the sockets, the bed, the cramped corners, something becomes hard to ignore. The forest outside is completely silent. No wind, no insects, and just as the unease settles in, the first unexplained sound breaks the quiet.
Молли, иди сюда. What was that? So, yeah, this house I supposed to stay in for the night, But I mean, electricity doesn't work there. Now, it's quite cozy. Okay, don't mind my stuff because, well, I already live here. So, this is how house looks like. Inside, it's very cozy, actually. 1 bed, 2 bed. Someone will practically can stay and look at you, when you sleep. I don't know. Freaky. I'm kind of sad, to be honest. I'm sad that I'm leaving. I'm sad that my vacation is over. My adventure is almost over. I have one last place to go, and that's it. And tomorrow I'll drive back home.
The noise comes from inside the tiny house. The camper freezes, replaying it in their head, trying to make sense of what could have caused it. Outside, the forest remains still, making the sound feel even sharper in the confined space. Out of curiosity and caution, another bungalow on the property is explored. It's worse, far dirtier, more neglected, the kind of place that feels abandoned rather than maintained. As night continues, unexplained noises return again and again, coming from outside, from the surrounding area, pulling attention back toward the trees each time. They never fully escalate, and knowing there are houses and parked cars across the road helps keep fear in check. By morning, the night is survivable, but memorable. The original bungalow is unusable, the campsite unsettling, and the sounds never explained. As the journey continues towards St. Petersburg and the final stop of the trip, the camper reflects on the mix of emotions: relief, appreciation, and the reminder that in places like this, isolation and silence can turn an ordinary stop into something that lingers long after you've left. Wanderlust. Diana runs a raw, no-filter nomadic lifestyle channel, documenting solo car living across the United States. No performances, no exaggeration, just real nights, real exhaustion, and real decisions. On December 12th, 2025, somewhere outside Las Vegas, Nevada, she parks alone at a scenic spot and begins setting up her SUV for the night. An air mattress, blankets, personal items pulled into place. She reflects on recent cold, sleepless nights spent tucked into casino garages, relieved to finally be somewhere quiet. The area feels calm, almost peaceful. As she prepares her mobile living space, she has no reason to believe she isn't alone, but nearby, someone is already paying attention.
This guy just came up to me. He's over there. I think this is his regular spot where he, introduced illegal substance. So he's asking me, like, if I want to, get any illegal substance like crystals and stuff like that. So I'm like, no, man, I don't do this kind of stuff. And yeah, so he was here talking. So he heard my accent and he's like, man, you Caribbean and stuff like that. So I said, yeah, I'm from Jamaica. So he's like, yeah. So that means you're 420 friendly. And I was like, I don't do any of that stuff. So he was trying to persuade me into getting, illegal substance. And
a white car begins circling the area. It stops, then returns. A man gets out and starts asking questions, but his focus never drifts from Diana herself. What first feels like harmless curiosity quickly turns uncomfortable as he keeps coming back, lingering longer each time. Sensing the shift, Diana sets a boundary. She tells him she's a vlogger, that her vehicle has cameras, that it's tracked. The man verbally backs off, but he doesn't leave. Instead, he stays nearby, watching, keeping his distance, while never taking his eyes off her setup.
I am loaded with equipment like tracking device. I am loaded with cameras and tracking device. And, he's like, never mind, and he left. But he's still hanging around far away down there to see what I'm doing. So be careful, guys. Be careful of these people. I didn't want to put him on the spot like that, so I took his voice away and took that clip away. But he was on my camera the whole time, while this conversation was going on. And I was warning him. I said, dude, I am a blogger. I am wired. You cannot come to me with these conversation on my camera like that. So, I gave him a fair warning. And then he's like, yeah, I got it. Have a good day. But then he was still lurking down there in the background watching me. And I think this is a time where I'm supposed to leave. I am going to leave and head over and drive about 30 or 40 minutes away to Cracker Barrel. And this is not going to be any longer my spot. I'm going to have to find a new spot.
It doesn't take long for Diana to realize he's still there, still observing, and that's when concern turns into something heavier. She begins to wonder if he's alone, or if someone else is nearby, just out of sight. Not willing to find out, she makes the decision to leave immediately. She drives for more than an hour, putting as much distance as possible between herself and the encounter, finally pulling into a Cracker Barrel parking lot. Later, she reflects that another person may have been involved after all. Leaving wasn't just the right call. It may have been the only safe one. The video is a reminder of how quickly a place that feels safe can change, how a quiet setup can turn into surveillance, and why, when you're traveling alone, instincts matter more than convenience or content.